I'm going to be switching over to a nice little double IPA here from Wilderness, DC Mountain.
Oh, very nice. I am jealous that you guys are able, because like I said, I'm not be able to do that. But again, I'm doing a little bit. How about you, Andrew? What do you got?
Just Yingling. I'm a simple guy. All right. Tonight, at least during the week, I am. This is for you West Coasters. This probably doesn't look very familiar, but it's very common in the Northeast in Pennsylvania. So,
although it's coming along, I hear they're expanding their distribution in a little bit, so that'll be excellent. Again, welcome everyone to the 42 Social Club. I think we're finally broadcasting, which is good. I think midstream through everyone's sharing of their drinks, so that's always good. But we're here to preview the Oregon State game. ASU is traveling up to Corvallis, playing a 7:30 kickoff on Saturday. And so, Adam, kick us off on a scale of 1 to Larry Scott should be fired. How bullshit is us having to play in Corvallis on a Friday night when we've only had one home game?
Well, yeah, I mean, I hate it, obviously. I mean, I guess it's kind of funny, and I think I want to give credit where it's due. I believe it was J-Pop that had posted that on Twitter that, you know, essentially every road team is going to the team with a better record. Okay. And okay, that makes sense, I guess. I think if you took some logic and stepped back from that and just said, you know, I'm sure that was kind of their plan all along when they started the season, that, okay, for that game, we're just going to send them to the team with a better record. It's home game. Well, if you step back at the end of the season and looked at it and said, hey, what makes the most sense? Them coming to Tempe in December, middle of December here, when we've only had one home game, makes a million more times sense. So that's the frustrating part, you know. So I'm going to put my frustration level there at a solid. Larry Scott should be hit with a paddle.
That's okay. As long as I've always heard that with those paddles, they got to have holes in them, so this way there's no resistance and you can slap that ass a little bit harder. How about you, Andrew?
The original question was how do I rate the game, or is it
how much bullshit? How much bullshit is it for us to actually have to travel?
How much bullshit? Well, I mean, this will be Oregon State's 5th home game of the year. And ASU's only had one. And I mean, at the end of the day, you know, we can speculate and say, oh, Oregon State, don't you want to come to Tempe? The weather's nice and it's not in Oregon this time of year. I mean, at the end of the day, everyone wants to play on their home turf. Yeah. And you know, if there was somehow some way to convince them otherwise, I'm sure that would have been done. But it is what it is, and it doesn't bode too well. I mean, mid-December in Oregon, this is just such a crazy year with all these games going into Christmas time. It's just, you don't even know what to say.
Way too many bad memories. How about you, PJ?
Yeah, Adam and I spoke about it earlier in the week. I just don't know why the Pac-12 didn't wait till Monday at noon before they started making the schedule. You know, they rushed into it, I felt, on Sunday. Everyone pretty much knew Washington wasn't going to be able to, come back from COVID. And then it just turned into, you've got teams not playing games. You've got one of your best teams not playing a game. We're going to Oregon State. Makes no sense.
You have an equipment team's truck in St. George waiting to figure out where they're going to go.
Like you could have waited 24 hours and had a lot better just look for the whole entire conference. But once again, the fire Larry Scott chants came out, and hard to argue with those.
Absolutely. I mean, everyone was talking about that today as well, right? It's just, I think someone tweeted out, imagine, everyone talking about Larry Scott, who was supposed to be this edgy kind of cutting edge type of guy. And every time he opens his mouth, everyone just, dunks on him because he's not supposed to be doing it. Right. And so, I mean, Adam, do you think we're going to have to deal with his tenure, or do you think someone's going to see the light and get rid of him sooner than later?
God, I mean, how can you not at this point? It's kind of funny too, because he said so when he got hired, the year that he got hired at basketball, I was kind of on the lower level across from the opponent's bench, and one game, like I forget even who it was. I think we were playing Washington, and he sat next to me for the whole game. Like that, like randomly, like that was his seat. You know, I'm there with my dad or something like that. And I'm like, Dad, pretty sure this is a new commission of the Pac-12 here. I mean, as you're talking about, I mean, it was a pretty exciting. You know, he was an exciting hire at the time. You know, this guy coming in, he's going to change. And I mean, I think I said, you know, a couple of words. You know, like, hey, you know, excited to have you on board and stuff like that. Okay. I wish you could go back to that now, obviously, and kind of recant some of that. But it's like, I mean, to answer your question, I don't know how you can. Really, I mean, it's such bad optics nationwide. I mean, well, I guess I don't know if it is nationwide. I guess I hear so much noise from the West Coast, the Pac-12 side, and what I follow on Twitter. Right. You know, that I don't know if it really is a national voice that sees this going like, God, is that just horrible? But I mean, I think you have to almost at this point. It's kind of one of those things like. Exactly. It's John Harbaugh in Michigan. Like, okay, you don't really want to, but you pretty much got it at this point, right? Absolutely.
And for you, Andrew, being on the East Coast, right, is that still the common perception, or because you are a follower of the Pac-12, it's a little bit more, or what do you get over there?
Over here, it's not many pay attention. I'll be honest. I mean, it's just, but people do. I will say that I have a lot of at least people I talk to say they do enjoy watching the late night games.
Okay.
As they do find them entertaining, and people know that Pac-12 after dark hashtag. I will say. But you know, it's like one of those things like, oh, you know, it's fun to watch these Pac-12 games hanging in bars late at night. You know, at least there's something on, and that's when I watch them. Yeah, I look over now and then, it's on. But in terms of perception. You know, it's a different vibe.
They don't care.
This is a Big Ten country.
Oh, okay. Nowadays. Fair enough. You, PJ, what is what other than quit? What is the other thing that Larry Scott could do to save himself?
Man, I've got a list a mile long, but they're all notes I've taken off Twitter comments from people. So, you know, I just think that the TV deal is just such a big. I feel like, you know, in the comments, just Andrew and Adam making, we're basically an irrelevant conference, you know, outside of the, you know, places that we have schools, and the TV contract has just been, you know, looming for years and no resolution, and it's just something that needs to be done, and the sooner the better. And there just seems to be no progress being made whatsoever. And it looks like we lost Rob.
What do you Who do you guys recall who the commissioner was before Larry Scott? I'm drawing a blank there.
I'm drawing a blank too.
I think that's almost the thing, is if you don't know the commissioner's name, then things seem to be running fairly smoothly. But when you've got a national, you know, hashtag, you know, fire Larry Scott, and you know, everyone's familiar with it, it just, you know, it's probably not the best notoriety that you want.
Well, and I mean, you know, I think prior to coming up, you know, when his tenure, I'm just thinking back to when he kind of stepped in there. I mean, you know, prior to that, the Pac-12 was a pretty powerful conference. That's when USC was competing every year for BCS championships. Oregon was the up-and-coming team. I mean, that was still even Bellotti there before even Chip got there. You know, I mean, you had, you know, Stanford had, you know, really established itself. I mean, you had all these teams that were really big time. You know, I guess what I'm saying is I think he took over the conference in a really good place. And as you said, has kind of become irrelevant since.
And I think they'll point to other sports and say, you know, I think that's kind of where he hangs his hat is, well, look at all these other fringe sports that, you know, we're doing great at, you know, which is true.
By fringe, are you trying to say Olympic sports?
Sports that I don't have season tickets for.
Okay, there you go.
Exactly. And I thank you for holding down the fort, because my computer decided to take a shit. But anyway. But yes, exactly. So that was a shout out to everyone in the chart. Thank you so much for the chat. Thank you for adding in your comments. We're going to talk about hoops briefly. We'll talk about hoops a little bit, and that was Tom Hansen that you were saying as well. So, but now previewing that ass whooping. I mean, obviously, I've been able to listen to a number of outside podcasts. Everyone is just they speak with it with a reverence of like, gosh, what an ass beating when you listen to them. And so fortunately being on the winning side of that game was good. But PJ, as always, the first question to the roundtable, what, other than the win, right, what did you like about the game, the Territorial Cup?
Yeah, obviously the win, and I can't recall a game where it was cruising the whole way. It just seems like there's not many recent memory games that we had that luxury. But what I really liked was the fact that I think we played over 60 guys in the game. So you got a lot of guys got their taste of what, it's like at the college level. That's going to go a long way. I think that's, why, I think Herm's looking to win this game this weekend so they can potentially get a bowl game. For that same reason, just to continue to give those guys, it's basically free experience right now. So,
how about you, Andrew? What did you like about this game?
Besides the actual victory, I would say I just like how they mostly kept it simple, kept the bread and butter offense, got the rushing yards that we were hoping they would get,
right.
The total amount of rushing yards we were hoping they would get. Other than some trickery where they pass it to Jaden Daniels in the end zone and it got called back anyway. But other than that trickery, I just like how they just played a pretty loose game, and they just looked like they were having fun, and nothing really got too cute as we had seen in previous games, and it's weird, like. I didn't, and it was just said a moment ago, but a lot of guys got to get the ball, got to play,
right?
From beginning to end, they got to see the field, and that kind of stuff's supposed to happen in the first game of the season when they're playing NAU or Stephen F. Austin or UTEP, or of course they say UTEP.
Yeah, North Texas. Yeah, don't that name.
That's the thing. Like that's when that's supposed to happen. When those players are supposed to get that time, and it happened to be in ASU's biggest rival game.
Exactly.
But I'm not going to complain about that. It's good that they got that time on the field.
Exactly. How about you, Adam? What did you like seeing in that game?
Yeah, how did you not like seeing everything in that game? I guess probably the biggest takeaway that I thought was is a sheer dominance from beginning to end. There was no let up in there at all. And I know Herm had talked about they went at halftime and kind of made that a point. Like, look, hey, we want do not back off of this, and come out and keep playing. And they did. And I mean, and you're talking, you said, I don't remember that. I thought I had heard 60 something, maybe it was 80, but everyone in the world played, and every single guy was out there playing as hard as they could. And it really just, and given everything, and every single guy out there was whooping the dude that they were crossing.
Absolutely.
That was the thing. No matter, as you went down the depth chart, it was like, we're still kicking their ass. And we're like this dude is just as good, and he's like number 3. I'm sitting there with the roster. I'm on my phone. I'm like, who the hell? Have we seen this guy before? Yeah, so that was,
and to your point, right? I think the way you were saying, like everyone was beating the other team's ass, is that there was some chatter about, look at Herm running up the score, and it's like, no, they just didn't try to stop anyone, right? They just they kept going. They're playing hard, and that's what happened.
It's the old Steve Spurrier, back in Florida when they, hang 50, 60 on every, on Vanderbilt or whoever they were taking on that week and stuff. And it was like, look, I'm sorry if my third string guys are better than yours, or better than your starters. Hey, I'm not going to tell those guys to not play hard.
Exactly. They're getting an opportunity. I think the number was 61 that Herm said, the number of players that actually played in the game, but they're getting an opportunity. And God, they were picking up U of A players play after play injured, not wanting any more part of that game.
Absolutely. And the other thing about it is that they were talking about ESPN had the graphic, right? 68.1% of everyone that's on the roster is an underclassman, right? So I mean, it's majority underclassmen, right? So Dan Honig had a question in the chat. Would you call this season the 2021 preseason? You probably see that. I think that's a fair enough statement. Adam, what do you think?
I mean, I think Herm's basically said as much as that to in an interview. He called this like, look, this is get as much guys in, play as many games as we can, and get as much experience as we can. Take that into spring ball and just keep building. So yeah, I think you absolutely have to say that. So I mean, I think Herm feels that way. I think the coaching staff feels that way. Like, hey, I mean, obviously they care about this year. They want to perform as well as they can. But they're taking this as, hey, this is just all gravy. This is experience for guys that are, and I think you read earlier this week he was talking in his press conference about the recruiting classes that they have a really good feel about who's coming back, who isn't, and so I think they're getting guys the experience that they need and that can, and getting ready for 21.
Almost like a double spring season. How about you, PJ?
Well, I think the big thing, I think we're going to see a lot more guys come back than everyone's anticipating. I think there's some guys that everyone's assuming are going to the pros that I think will probably end up coming back for another year. I think they see what they're building, and it's definitely been a preseason for next year, and I think some of them can kind of taste what the potential or possibilities are. So may lead a few guys that are on the, not going to be necessarily top draft picks to want to play another year and get a little more tape.
Exactly. Agreed. Andrew, about you?
In a way, it is. I mean, in terms of, because of eligibility, how players will get eligibility, or the eligibility will be extended. So in a way, kind of I kind of said that after I was kind of agreeing with that statement after the USC game. I'm like, but it was kind of like, well, that's all this season is anyway, is like 2021 preseason. But players are still playing hard, and the coach should still be coaching the very best they can. Sorry, for the lack of a better term, they still should be coaching like this is a normal season.
Right.
And the players, for the most part, have been playing like this is a normal season because this is their lives and it truly means a lot to them. So, in a way it is, and in a way it's not. That's just what I would say.
Exactly. And shout out to Jim Burt. Hi, good to see you in the chat. Question for you, PJ. Start us off on this one. And it was I saw this tweet and I kind of put it out there, but 2016 was that year that we lost. They didn't throw the ball once in the second half. And the question that the tweet had is, does a 2020 game kind of not necessarily get rid of it, or does it just eliminate the bad taste, or is it still there?
I guess I look at it as, whatever happened last is the only thing fresh in my mind. The only thing that matters now. When you win 4 in a row, then all 4 of them matter, and I remember every single one of them, and I make sure all my buddies who are fans of the team down south remember as well. But there's some painful games in your memory, and that was definitely one of them. So it's still in the back of my mind for sure.
Understood. Andrew, how about you? You think it kind of
does it erase it?
Not necessarily erase it, or does it just kind of lessen it?
I would say it lessens it. I mean, this game made more headlines, and made more, kind of blew up Twitter world probably a bit more because it was just such a lopsided game, and the headlines just simply stick out more, than a 56-35 victory from 4 years ago. I mean, it definitely doesn't erase anything. Nothing does. I mean, Alex and Dejas, when he missed 2 extra points, it didn't erase the game-winning kick he made the year before that in the same game.
Right.
But that's what people remember, is the missed extra points. So I mean, yeah, there's definitely something to say about the impact of certain games that would supersede similar games before that.
Now, Joe Whitener just said something in the 2016 is forever for him because the ESPN put him on camera suddenly walking out down the steps and out of the stadium. How about you, Adam? Is that still lessens or dampens it in any way?
Not even one iota, not one bit whatsoever. I am of the belief that those kind of losses will stay with you for forever, whatever kind of losses they are. I mean, are going to stay with you because those are what, I'm sure the people that were on that team, that memory of that game drove them for forever. And they would never want to forget that game. They came back, the guys that were on that 16 team, they came back and beat them in 17. They came back and beat them in 18. They would never want to forget that game. They would never want to not remember the pain of that game. And, for me as a fan, I've been through many of those games, and I would, because it just makes the one I just saw this past week that much sweeter. And so for me, no, it doesn't change that one single bit.
Fair enough. No, like I said, I think it doesn't change it because again, it still is painful, but it's still for me. It dampened it a little bit. So, start us off, Adam, about previewing the next game versus Oregon State. Like you said, they played all their games out there. It's a home game. It is playing right into what they have: home stadium, cold weather, in the dark. But what do you think you want to see ASU do against the Oregon State Beavers this weekend?
It's basically the blueprint in every single game they've had. 6 games they've had, and I think every single. I mean, they're 2-4, right? And the 4 losses, they've been outrushed pretty significantly. They're a really bad rush team. Even the 2 wins they had, the teams were definitely trying to run the football as much as possible. And that seems to be the MO. You just grind right at them. They had 2 defensive linemen sit out this year. Essentially, and that and there were guys that were expected to contribute big for them. So I think it's just, you come straight at them, pound them, establish your run game, and then play off of that with play action pass. Now the trick is they run the football pretty well themselves.
They do, yeah.
And you got to be able to stop them. And they got a new quarterback came in versus Utah. I think was his first game.
Right.
Struggled a bit there, but played really well last week at Stanford. And if he can get things figured out, you got to be able to, for both sides of the ball, run the football, stop the run, as you guys so often. It doesn't seem to play that way across college football that much anymore because most teams are. I mean, even Alabama is 5 wide a whole bunch of times, and we're going to chuck it all over the world. I mean,
exactly.
5 years ago, if you told me that was Alabama, I would never believe you. I mean, that's running back you, right? So
exactly. Steve Sarkisian changing all kinds of stuff.
Right.
Exactly. How about you, Andrew? What are you thinking? What do we need? What would you like to see ASU do against Oregon State?
Just really play a simple game like they did last week, and limit the mistakes and limit the penalties.
No more players downfield, you mean?
Oh my God! Yeah, I mean, yeah, I really went off on that kind of stuff. I'm not gonna do that tonight, but I mean, just play a clean, simple game and limit the penalties, play smart, play disciplined, and they should win this game.
Right.
I mean, that's it. I mean, especially because Oregon State's they might be down Jamar Jefferson.
They're down quite a few people.
Who has more touchdowns than their entire wide receiving core. Mm-hmm. Their second wide receiver, Colby Taylor, he's Kerry Taylor's younger brother. He's retired now as of a few days ago.
Right.
He's their second receiver. I mean, but despite all their despite injuries, what I saw in the UCLA and USC games, I still think ASU could easily lose this game because
that's fair.
Because of just not playing smart.
Absolutely.
So I hope to see them. I hope to see them all on the same page and limiting the penalties and just playing a smart game.
Absolutely, and I think that was one of the key points that we talked about during the after party, right? Or after the tailgate was the Territorial Cup had fewer movements, pre-snap movements at the line, whereas UCLA had a crap ton of them, and that was really what was, I guess, kind of confusing, especially since it was the second game. So yeah, simplifying it helped a ton, right? And so, how about you, PJ? What would you like to see?
Well, I mean, obviously the Jamar Jefferson, whether he can play or not, is going to be huge. I mean, he's got an ankle injury from last week. Came out, I think that was the only game he played in that he didn't rush for over 100 yards. So he, had a couple of huge games. Obviously, I think everyone seems to have seen the Oregon game where he just went wild. But if he doesn't play, that's a big, game changer right there.
Right.
As Adam mentioned, Chance Nolan's the backup quarterback who's been playing. He runs the ball a little bit, it seems, but I think we've got to, run the ball. As Andrew said, keep it simple. They've got a lot of injuries. I saw both the Wright brothers, which that's the first time I get to say the Wright brothers in a football context, but their defensive backs, there's two brothers that play. They're both injured and out for this game. So that's, opens up the passing game. Their leading tackler broke his arm last week against Stanford.
Rashad Hamilton?
Yeah. So
really? Wow.
He's out. That's, one of their linebackers. So we should be able to run the ball. They were, I think, either last or next to last in the Pac-12 in rushing, they played a little bit better against Stanford, but
right.
We should be able to go wild on the ground against them, and that'll open up, those few passes. Like Adam and I had talked about against U of A, we're like, hopefully Jaden has 150 yards passing today, and that we're just able to run the ball all over him. I'm looking for something similar, on Saturday.
That's the strength, right, is the running game. I mean, given Rashad White and Chip Trainum, and I heard that he might be injured. I don't know. Don't hold me to that.
Barely played versus U of A.
That's what they were saying. He was out towards the – and again, if you're a member of Devil's Digest Huddle, I believe there was a comment in there about him being out the last 5 series for some reason. So I don't know if that's going to impact any, but maybe that's why Daniel Nagata got the start. And again, it was good, even though as much as we love seeing – Trainum with Rashad White and Daniel Nagata, we really didn't see much of a drop-off. And even then, even watching Jackson Hay, which was even brilliant as well.
Heard Trainum's got a broken foot, so he's probably going to be limited with what I'm hearing. So
all right, so there we are. So that was it as well. So it's everyone is injured. Like
he may play on it, though, too. So he's been a beast for sure.
Exactly.
Enjoyed him this year. I think it's probably one of the nice things that we've seen is our running game really hasn't taken any kind of hit with the loss of Eno. Who
absolutely,
and
and that's the other thing too. Again, the line is doing well, opening those gaps so then they can run. So I think that's actually absolutely brilliant. Really appreciate everyone in the chat posting some of the questions. This may resonate with you, Andrew. Look at the program like Rutgers. So 3 wins in Shiano's first year. Can ASU replicate that blueprint of success at Rutgers? I don't know. I think that's going to be a lot.
I think that's a bit of a stretch of a question. I mean, you're talking about a program that was possibly the worst program in Division I football like 3 years in a row.
The home of college football.
Yeah, I mean, it was worse than who got beat by Kansas at home, or maybe that one was on the road, but got beat by Kansas, by 40 points or something.
Mike and PJ
I don't know, but just as a side note, I will say about that program is they do look like a completely different team under Shiano. But
it's his second journey there, isn't it?
Yes, it is. They do look like a completely different team. I mean, it just comes down to discipline and passion. I think. And just better coaching.
And also, as always, the what is it? The talent is destiny, right? Which is always the key thing, and that's always about the recruiting conversation that we'll be able to touch on shortly, because there's some questions in the chat about that as well. So I think we touched on that. What you don't want to see, Andrew, I think you said limiting the mistakes as well. Jay, not getting too complicated, and then Adam as well, just making sure they're playing the smart game as well. So I won't harp on that one too much, because again, we kind of already touched on it, fortunately. But I always ask everyone, giving me your feedback on how the team is going to do. So total yards, Andrew, how many total yards do you think ASU is going to have this week? And you can give me a range. You can give me a range. You don't have to be the exact down to the half yard. I just need,
Can you come back to me while I look up their yards from the previous game? I like to compare. You like to use that as like a to measure.
All right. Well, then
I know after you find that out. So we.
All right. So here are the questions. All right. I want total yards. Who's going to be the top? Total yards? Okay. Total rushing yards. Who's going to be the top rusher this week? Who's going to be the top receiver this week? And who's going to have the most tackles? So I don't know if you guys got ideas off the top of your head, but while you look those up, Andrew, I don't know. Adam or PJ, what are you guys thinking?
Yeah, I would say your total yards, you're looking, I think around 430 sounds about right.
Okay.
I can see us, rushing for around. I think you're going to see a strong rushing performance from us. I think Jaden's going to break loose for a couple. White's going to break loose. Nagata, et cetera, are going to get some yards in there. So I see us rushing for, well over 200 yards in this game.
Okay.
250, I think, sounds around right.
That would be nice. Yeah.
For my taste. With White being the featured guy, I think he's going to be the one who's going to break that loose. I mean, you saw the 93 yard run that he had. 93-yard run against U of A. I think he can definitely get loose for some of those Oregon
It was
State.
so pretty too, because he just came up and then he just did this little hop.
That little hop.
And then he was gone. Be still my heart. Be still my heart.
I know. I had a moment right now. Oh, it was so great. And I think Jaden still throws when he wants to, which is such a great thing to say. And I hope that's how it plays out. Is that are
you thinking White's the top rusher, by the way?
I did, yeah. White the top rusher, and
cool.
And Jaden's able to throw when he wants to, and it'd be fun to see Frank Darby involved this game since he has a shutout against U of A. Let's go ahead and give him some love here, right? And get him bump his draft stock or something there, for help him out. So
give that to him as well. How about the most tackles? Who do you think is going to be the top tackler?
Oh man, I mean,
tough, right?
I can't go against Jerry Butler in this, because if they're going to run the football, which is I think what they have to do if they have a chance in any game that they've won this year, that's what they've had to do, is establish a run and play really well in that regard. So if they're going to keep coming, I mean, Butler's just got to be a tackling machine out there, which he absolutely can be and is. So
fair enough. How about you? You guys, Andrew, PJ, what do you got? What are your thoughts on those?
I think similar to Adam. I think we're going to about 250 on the ground, maybe even a little bit more than that.
Okay.
You see us busting some big runs. I would have said White as well is going to have a big day, but I have a feeling that Nagata and Trainham will both have a considerable amount of rush yards, and Jaden as well. I think he'll be able to scramble.
He'll be in there as well.
I think Jaden will probably throw for 250 as well. So I'm going to say around 500 yards total.
Right on. Okay.
Last week, obviously it's hard to keep that game. It doesn't reflect how dominant we were by looking at total yardage when you look at last week's games. But I'm going to say on the wide receiver spot, I'm going to go with a complete wild long shot and say Ricky Pearsall is going to have a big game.
The good top receiver, right?
Yeah, I just they're starting to target him a little bit more. It was nice to see Johnny Wilson made an incredible catch.
Yes.
After struggling that first game, and probably part of the second game as well. But and then tackles. Butler, but I'll say Tyler Johnson. Excuse me. No, I'm going to go
You made your pick.
I guess
Tyler Johnson.
Yeah. No, I was talking about Tyler Johnson. I think's been playing fantastic. And he's been a kind of a difference maker there. But I'll say Merlin will have a big game this week.
Well, so Merlin's the man this week for you, or Tyler Johnson?
Merlin.
I got you.
Yeah, just pick like 8 people. PJ.
Then they don't.
Whoever.
See, like Jack Jones back. I don't know if he'll be back this week, but we haven't missed a beat without him. So
no, we haven't. Have we heard anything about him, by the way?
I haven't heard a word.
Yeah, we'll see. It's still indefinite. I'm sure they would have mentioned it in the press conference as well if there was any chance of him returning. All right, Andrew, what do you got, my man? Total yards.
Well, before we get into that, since someone mentioned Tyler Johnson,
Yes.
do you mind if I share a photo real quick?
Let's see. You should be able to.
Okay. I just wanted to talk about something real quick.
All right.
If I share.
Do a share screen.
Yeah, there we go.
You I don't know if you're sharing yet. Oh, wait, hold on. Let me. Yep. Look at that.
You guys see it?
So great.
That's a great photo.
Are you kidding me?
Exactly. That was a brilliant photo. That was so good.
I mean, this just looks like it'll be a save the date on my fridge.
The Zona Zoo in the background and everything. I love this photo so much.
All of it.
One of the responses I saw was find a girl that looks at you like this.
And it didn't have enough retweets or likes, which was actually rather annoying. I can't believe it. But yes, that is a brilliant picture. So many, and then Chase. I think Chase Lucas had the same one where he's holding it up as a phone. I think that's his go-to. He did. I mean, I would be sad if he leaves, but I think it's almost makes sense for him to stay.
His destiny is going to carry him to the NFL next year.
You think he has enough? You think he has enough film? Okay. I got you. All right. So what are your numbers, Andrew? What do you think? Total yards.
I think total yards would be probably around, let's see, I think USC was a little under 400.
Mm-hmm.
So I would say maybe a little over 400.
Okay.
I would see, let's see, I would say Jaden throws for around 2. I would say Rashad White is the leading rusher, and the total rushing will be, I would say, let's see, I'd say 225.
That's a good range.
Yeah,
we got it. It's about 225,
225 to 245.
Mm-hmm.
And for tackles, I would probably say, well, actually, no, sorry, staying on offense. Receiver, I'll go with Johnny Wilson because I did think he, made some good catches last week after some drops in prior games.
Mm-hmm.
So, but it'll be cold, so we'll see. But in defense, in terms of tackles, I think if Jamar Jefferson doesn't play, then they're going to go to the air. And I think if Jamar Jefferson doesn't play, then they're going to go to the air, and you just might see Evan Fields making a bunch of open field tackles.
It's always crazy how they're able to catch in the cold better than us. I'll never understand that, but they always figure it out how. Just like Washington State, they're always able to catch better than us, whatever that means. And ultimately, what everyone wants to know, what is your score prediction, Andrew? Who wins and what's the score?
Just to put it out there, the spread of this game, and this is the kind of stuff I look at, is ASU by 7 on the road, which is, and it was 8, but I think it's 7 now. I would say I will go ASU 31, Oregon State 23.
Okay.
I don't, despite the difference in talent and the possible injuries on Oregon State, I still believe that Herm loves to play these close games, loves to play close, and last week was such a surprise because of that. But this is on the road too, but much different natural environment.
Very good. Okay, Adam. Who wins in the score?
He's muted. You're muted, Adam.
Oh, you're muted, Adam. Hey.
I think there's going to be some points scored in this game. Oregon State's been managed to score this year, I think, which will force us to press the gas a little bit and not let up there. So I see us. I say 42-24 will be the final.
Looks like we've got Rob freezing up now, so I'll go ahead.
Go ahead.
Give you my thoughts as well. I think this is a two-part question for me. If Jamar Jefferson plays, I think it's going to be a tighter game.
Can you not just make a decision?
I will. I'm going to give you both of my decisions. I haven't seen how he.
Yes, for one score.
All right, so I'm going to say 34-24 if Jamar Jefferson plays. If he doesn't, I think ASU's going to run away with this game. I think it'll be maybe 45-24, something in that range, with Oregon State scoring some touchdowns late. Now, we've all unfortunately seen our performance up there in Corvallis in previous years, so always a crapshoot, I suppose. When the game's finally played, and doesn't look like the weather is going to be horrible, but it could be wet field and could impact the game. That's why I think we'll see a lot of running.
Yeah, and let's not forget that Oregon State's 2-4, but remember they beat Oregon at home. Okay, and that was I don't know if you guys watched that game. That was a great game.
Oh, yeah.
And I enjoyed I didn't watch the whole thing, but the fourth quarter was really exciting. And Oregon doesn't have Herbert, but they're coming off a season where they almost made the college football playoff. And Oregon State was able to close that one out late. And traditionally, we know that Oregon State has an offense that is I like their offense. It's a run first and then pass kind of offense. I love
my computer and I hate my computer. What did you say?
in the past, like last year, they really just kind of fired it all over the place. And we know they're dangerous, right? We know Oregon State's dangerous on offense. They have been for a long time. They've had great quarterbacks historically.
To your point, they've been dangerous this year. They knocked off Oregon, nearly beat Washington. Wazoo, they were right there. Utah, they were right there. Those were all one-score games. Around, and they could be sitting there at 5-1 pretty easily. Right now. Justin Smith, has gotten them playing really well. Jonathan Smith. Has gotten them playing really well. He just came in there last year. Takes then this effed up year. To see that. 2 years ago, you talk about Rutgers being a laughing stock. Oregon State couldn't have been that far behind them.
Absolutely.
So to see that they were, where they've gone and where they are now, competing in games and every game and beating their rival Oregon. I know that they're kind of news guys or not. We're talking about that being maybe a program changing win for them. Knocking on the door of the big guy in the Pac-12 North there and saying, "Hey, we're here," and starting to really play it. So, I don't think it's going to be easy. I just think they have a lot to overcome in this game. I think they've spent what they could, and they're at the end of their line here. So,
I was going to say, do you think that we're facing a letdown after a 63-point win? Do you think that's?
I think that's always a fear. Especially in previous years, I think it's been a major fear for ASU teams. So that it's been in the back of my mind. Probably one of my worst losses was the one we went up there where we were so good and we end up getting beat. And just a painful memory.
Right, exactly. After flying high from the Notre Dame game. Exactly.
I was actually in Kansas watching that with my oldest son when he was at Kansas, and I'll never forget that game. It was just how did we lose? So
I know exactly.
anything can happen, obviously.
Especially up there, too many painful points. Did you give me your? And again, I just dropped out right when you started giving me your score and your prediction, Adam. So
he gave 2 scores, and I don't know if that's fair because he's going to claim that he picked it right, no matter what happened.
Well, I didn't write down his. So Adam, what was yours first?
Mine was 42-24.
Okay.
Can I give a second score just in case, like PJ's going to do?
Absolutely, yeah.
I'm sticking with my number.
You got it. How about you, PJ? What are your 2 guesses?
Well, I said, it obviously depends on Jamar Jefferson, whether he plays or not. I think he's such an impact player. I've got a 34-24 if he plays, and then if he doesn't, I can see it putting up 45 points. I still think they'll score. I think, they have the ability to do that, but I think it'll be 45-24 if he doesn't play.
Okay, got it.
And I just, quite truthfully, can't see why he would play. You've got an ankle injury. You've got a really good shot at going pro next year. I don't see what the benefit is, long term for you to try to gut it out.
Yeah, exactly.
Normal season, maybe.
I think that's a fair point, right? If it's a normal season, but if it's just it's the year of our COVID, it's 2020. Why push further? Why risk more if there's really not much else to be gained? Yeah. I mean, yes, they're just playing ASU, but still, like you said, there isn't much else. But yes, but Andrew Taylor had a question here. You can probably see that. I think the Pac-12 After Dark helps retain relevance because we need as much as we possibly can. But, playing 8 p.m. on ESPN, is that better than playing 6 p.m. on Pac-12? And I would say yes, absolutely, just because there's so many eyes. I guess it's what you're looking at, a fraction of eyes watching you on Pac-12 Network if you are on ESPN. So I think that's absolutely relevant. Right?
I guess the question that begs there, kind of where it goes back to where you started this with Larry Scott. It's like, so the Pac-12 Network was more a nationwide thing where it's much easier to get is being on the Pac-12 Network at 7 o'clock or 6 o'clock better than being on ESPN at 8 o'clock.
I don't think if we were as distributed as the SEC network was, then I don't think it would be then I don't think we'd even be talking about that, right? I think, like you said, to your point, if it was national and it was available to 300 million whatever odd homes that ESPN's available to, then it's like, yeah, so then they would actually be directly competing with them, which would actually be even more entertaining, right? Because then you're fighting for eyes, right? So then now you're like, having a back and forth is like, okay, now we have a quality product, which we know what we have, but now it's just, it's not available for everyone to see.
Yeah, because I can't tell you how many times I've been out. I've family lives in Houston, or I've been out somewhere out east, and I go somewhere to see a game. It's like, you got on this channel, the Pac-12. Do you get that? Yeah, we get that. And then they go look for it, and like, no, you don't get that.
You have to call.
We're not watching the game. Where there could be a game that's on right then, in a bar watching a game, and then you just
absolutely.
So
I was there. I was in Tucson for last September during the the Sac State game, I guess of what it was. It was a Friday night game because my daughter's quince was the next Saturday. That's why I wasn't at the game. But I called 3 bars in downtown Tucson to make sure they had the Pac-12 network before I took 20 people there, because it's like I have to make sure the game's on because does everyone have it? So yeah, that's always the interesting
point. You should not have to call ahead. And that's it.
Should not. Exactly.
That's it.
Absolutely. Andrew Taylor saying, SEC, ACC, and Big Ten. ACC network is one I don't have, even though I pay $1 bajillion to Comcast for everything else. I don't have ACC network, which is interesting, even though I do pay for it. I think I get it through my ESPN Plus. I do pay for that. So that's another thing. But yeah, they need more standalone games at more reasonable hours if we had a network that was exposed as much as everyone else. Shout out to Ron, everyone else in the chat. Really appreciate everyone being part of this. And again, to you 3 gentlemen for carrying on when my computer decided to take a dump. I know it was an early signing period. Someone actually posted this earlier. Let me see if I can find this one here. This was actually from Dan. Was the reaction from the USC loss overblown considering the shortened season, or did it only really hurt recruiting? And We were talking about this one earlier, Andrew, right? It's like, their class looked really, really good, but a few short weeks ago, and now it's where it is. Do you think the USC loss could have catapulted the recruiting cycle into something much better? Or do you think the staff is really playing the transfer portal?
I'm reading the question back to myself again.
Okay.
It was a reaction from the USC loss overblown. The reaction from us, who reaction from? I'm guessing he means
from fans. I guess.
I guess he means from us. I think it was I think it was a bit overblown because I was one of those people after that game where I was like, well, they actually did a lot of good things, and I was watching that game with you, Rob.
Right.
I remember there was a rushing touchdown and you said, "Wow, that formation, that play was beautiful." I remember you said this exactly. You said the word "beautiful," and I'm like, "Yeah, we've seen a lot of good things." And USC just happened to want it more in the final couple minutes, and ASU
as they've done all year.
Yeah, right. Which is true. They it's all rigged apparently, but I did see a lot of good things after that game, and I was kind of like, well, I see a lot of good things. And Herm usually does not lose those types of games. I don't really see that becoming a habit of his.
Right.
He's pulled out a lot of close games. So I would say overblown is probably accurate.
Okay.
That the stuff I get frustrated with was, as is the penalties and the mistakes. Really, a lot of penalties and mistakes. Well, other than the offsides in that game a few times, wasn't really the penalties and mistakes that led to their demise. Right.
And the funny thing you said, talk about penalties, because when I was watching the Hawaii broadcast, they were touting how low penalty. Hawaii is the least penalized team in the Mountain West, which is actually always interesting under a Todd Graham regime.
How about that?
How about you, Adam? Do you think it's just, again, because this is preseason, was there no reaction to the USC loss, or do you think it really impacted the recruiting that we saw from an early signing period yesterday?
I as far as, so I don't know. I don't really think of them as being tied together. I mean, I think that recruits are, I don't know if they're really looking at games played this season and going, God, that's where I got to go, or God, that's where I not got to go, because of the result. I mean, I think they get it. They see how difficult this year is, and they're really experiencing it on a high school level. They're seeing this in wherever they're playing at and stuff like that. So to me, they're kind of two separate things. It was a fluke loss that's just.
Right.
I mean, you go from a 99.9% win probability to 0 is pretty hard to do, and so as far as the recruiting goes, I don't know that it's funny because my take or my feel that I got from when listening to the coaches and Herm and AP and that is they're just fine right where they are. My takeaway, especially from the press conference the other day, was they're kind of right where they want to be.
Okay.
In that they feel like they got guys that they wanted. They've added a lot of what they're going for, the length, the bulk inside and that,
Right.
and that they're positioned for the next 2 months here, coming into signing day in February. Whereas in last year, I mean, essentially the entire class was either signed in December or was a silent commit in December. Almost the entire thing. There was a couple out there that were maybe late flips, and that it came on, but other than that, it was all done really at this time. Where this year it feels a little more like they're leaving that door a little more open because they feel they can get more coming up than what they are right now,
and maybe even more. They already have more. They may even have more already. I think probably than you're reading, in all the lists and everything. But
yeah, agree, and I think they're in on a lot of guys that are still really big guys out there that can come in and again, I think again they it certainly doesn't seem that they can seem concerned at all whatsoever. They're more pretty excited about where they're at and what they have to do over the next 2 months.
I'm on the same page with you. I think when you look at the recruiting in that USC loss, they're completely separate deals. I'll start with the USC loss. It was one of the more painful losses in my immediate universe, I suppose. Knowing that we were in a shortened season, our only opportunity to gain in the rankings was to beat a ranked team like USC. Then the next week we go out, with COVID, and it kind of maybe made me settle down a little bit and realize, this season is pretty much a wash as far as that's concerned. Let's get better as a team. But I took that loss pretty hard because we had it in our hands and we lost, and I thought it was on the national stage and an opportunity for us to really grow. Don't think it impacted recruiting. I think we're probably like you mentioned, in a good spot for recruiting on what we want and where we're at. Herm's continued to talk about the transfer portal. I know the Twitterverse is, hung up on local recruits, and Arizona has definitely been really improved in who's coming out of here. I mean, hell, all the quarterbacks, there's a ton of quarterbacks that are playing for major programs right now that are all from Arizona. But I think that the thing that we need to keep in mind is that this is a longer process now with everything that's going on. We're going to get some guys that we don't necessarily have on board right now that they've probably got in their back pocket. It's exactly what happened last year. We got some big name recruits, but I'm fairly comfortable with the recruiting end of it. One game doesn't make or break a recruit, in my opinion.
That's true. And I just want to add to that and kind of answer the second part of the question that I actually didn't answer to begin with, about how, if that game were to affect recruiting or anything. And it was actually, I was on a Zoom call with a bunch of other ASU folks, and Joe Healy was on. I'm sure you guys know him. And he's talked to a lot more, not just college football players, but Arizona State players over the years, a lot more than I have. He's friends with a lot of them. And he was telling us that when it comes to recruiting, like, it's not like the recruits, for the most part, the recruits do not come to the university and then judge or make such a major judgment about like a loss. Like they go visit. There's a game that weekend and they lose the game. Oh, I'm out. It's for the most part, it's not like that. That's what he was telling everyone, that there's so much more that there's just so much more that we don't know about. All we can see is we can turn on a game and see a recruit standing on the sideline and just think, well, now we got to win this game to win that recruit. But there's a lot more than that. There's so much more than that. And I just thought it was interesting stuff that Joe was sharing with us.
Guys, hopefully you can see me from my device. Hopefully, I probably have to end this stream before it gets way too. But again, I appreciate your insights and everyone else, and thank you everyone for being on the chat. This is probably going to be the platform of choice until I am able to make this thing stable. But I appreciate your insights. I appreciate everything else. Hopefully you had a good enough time, because I know I did. But as much of a technical disaster it was, I still enjoyed myself. So I appreciate you being patient with me and the technology and everything else. But I just wanted to give you an opportunity. What are you guys promoting? What are you working on? PJ, you start. Why don't you share with everyone what you
I've got a new album I'm going to drop right before the end of the year. Mostly hip-hop, but hopefully I'll check out my SoundCloud page, and we'll go from there.
I like it. How about you, Adam?
Oh, what am I promoting? I'm promoting peace, love, and happiness, man. Just I hope everyone out there is staying safe and taking care of themselves, and their family's good, and their friends are good, and take care of each other and look after each other, and let's have safe and happy holidays and get through all this bullshit and into some good times in 2020. Huh?
Absolutely, Adam. I'm sorry, Andrew.
Oh, I wish I had something to promote, but I do not. And but this was a lot of fun, and I really appreciate you having me here. And you know, so it was a nice message to get to, you know, for you to want me to be a part of this. And hopefully we can do it again soon.
Absolutely will. We will. We have let's see.
Comment there. Let's eat more barbecue in 2020. That's what I'm promoting. Eat more barbecue.
Yeah.
I need to find a place here in the Bay Area. I'm not other than Sauced.
Yeah, that's not good.
That's the only place I.
Adam, thank you. Go Devils, guys.
Yeah.
Thanks, Rob.
Enjoy the game. We got Jim Heilig on the 42 Social Club tomorrow night. The starting set from the 1975 undefeated ASU football team. So he's going to be on tomorrow. We're actually going to start early at 5 Pacific because he is out on East Coast, out in Pennsylvania. So we're going to be starting a little bit early for him. And then we have the tailgate that's going to be starting at 5 o'clock on Saturday as well. Most likely just leave it on through as a watch through and an after party, because hopefully we'll be able to just celebrate a win after that. But as always, appreciate everyone in the chat. Appreciate everyone being part of this, and appreciate you being part of the social club. As always, I love you. I cannot thank you all enough, especially everyone that's listening and watching. Make sure you love yourself, those around, just to echo what Adam shared. Make sure you're doing the right thing around everyone and protecting everyone else. And as always, continue to be in contact and stay social. Thank you, gentlemen, and we'll talk more tomorrow. Thank you, everyone. Night.
Good night, Devils.